Hello and welcome back to the Nature of Education podcast. My name is Yvonne and I'm really looking forward to sharing this one with you on how to actually be yourself. And this idea of being yourself was the most annoying advice that I remember getting when I was on my own journey. So if you have similar agitations, stay with me. There is a reason that I'm now very passionate about talking about it. And it is one of my favorite subjects now because authenticity is one of my highest values, and being ourselves just offers so many benefits and opportunities that I'll get into as we move through today's episode. So to start with, I suppose my own experience with this was when I was really struggling and I felt really bad in myself. I was very anxious, had no self-confidence. I struggled to make friends and fit in and just feel like I belonged anywhere. And I would be searching for answers online, and a lot of the time what came back was be yourself. And the reason I got quite irritated with this was because I didn't know how to be myself. And on the other side of things, I felt like myself was the problem. I felt like I was the issue. I did not like myself whatsoever, and I quite easily say in my own mind, I hate myself. I hated my body. I hated how I acted. I thought I was so weird. I thought I didn't think how other people did. I thought I was just too quiet. There were so many issues that I saw with my natural self, my authentic self, that I didn't want to be myself. I would have done anything to be anybody else. And I tried to do that in different ways. I tried to be who I thought other people wanted me to be. I tried to see what I needed to do in order to gain approval and fit in. And all of that was just creating further disconnection with myself. So this advice frustrated me, and I did not know how to be myself, and I didn't know how that could possibly be a useful answer to all of the challenges that I was experiencing. And then when I went on my journey of recovery, as I'll often refer to it now, recovery was like recovering my true self. And in that process, I reconnected to who I authentically am, and that has been the greatest gift I've ever gotten to experience. And since then, I've become very passionate about this idea of being ourselves, because we are all, as cliche as it may sound, unique. And further to that, there's a much more depth and connection to life that we can get when we actually allow ourselves to embrace and express and embody that uniqueness. And one of the things that really hammers this home for me is from a book called The Top 5 Regrets of the Dying by Bronnie Ware. And one of the top regrets was, I wish I'd had the courage to live a life true to myself, not the life others expected of me. And that really hit home for me, because I think so many of us are going around trying to be who we think others want us to be. We're trying to be who we think we're expected to be. We're trying to be who we think we should be. And all that we were doing all that time is rejecting who we authentically are. We are disconnecting and disengaging from who we came here to be. Carl Jung said, the privilege of a lifetime is to be who you truly are. And I wholeheartedly believe that now that I have learned how to be myself and how to step into actually embracing that as a way of being that I really want to live every day. So when we're talking about authenticity, one of my favorite ways of looking at this comes from Brene Brown. She does a lot of work around authenticity and vulnerability and all of that good stuff, which are some of my favorite topics now. And she says, authenticity is a daily practice of letting go of who we think we should be and embracing who we are. I may have paraphrased that a little bit, but you get the idea, in that it's a shedding of who we've maybe learned to be. And a lot of us have, along the way, as we have grown up, we've learned to be who we think we are meant to be. We've learned to be part of our culture. We've learned things based on our surroundings, our conditioning. We all have this. And Ram Dass refers to it as kind of like a somebody training. We learn to be somebody. And we do that by assessing how other people are interpreting us, by seeing how other people are behaving, by seeing how we kind of fit into the general fabric of the society that we're growing up in. And that gives us a lot of information. It gives us a lot to work with. But at some point, like I felt in my life, that may not feel like it really fits anymore. And it's like we've been putting on these different clothes and like hand-me-downs from other people. And at some point we recognize we've outgrown them, or they're completely not our own style, or they don't even suit us. They don't suit our natural expression or our shape or our fit or our preferences. And so at some point we need to take off some of those things that no longer really suit us and shed what is not ours to keep carrying and wearing, and see what lays beneath. And that can be kind of scary and kind of confronting if we have never done the work of actually getting to know ourselves. And this matters so much because one of the key things that I talk to a lot of people about in my work and in schools is feeling confident in who you are, is having a sense of empowerment, in having this inner resilience because you know that you can handle things. You can't have that if you're spending your life pretending to be someone you're not. You can't have that if you're going around having a mask. We all have this fundamental need to connect, to belong, to feel like we are part of something. And we cannot have that if there is this wedge of illusion that is always between us and other people when we are trying to fit into this mold of who we believe that we're expected to be. When we refuse to allow ourselves to be ourselves, we're also refusing true connection. We're also refusing true belonging, because we cannot belong any more than we accept ourselves. If we are trying to belong in a place where we aren't being who we came here to be, it's not us that is belonging there. It's this version of us that is fitting in there, because fitting in requires us to change who we are, and belonging is different. It's more closely aligned to authenticity. So this is something that I noticed so much in myself when I was going on this journey of recovery. And part of being yourself is getting to know yourself. You have to know this person that you are trying to be in order to actually be them. And so there's an element of self-discovery that has to happen. I was so busy saying that I hated myself, but in truth, I hardly knew myself. I had this big loss of identity when I was no longer able to train in gymnastics. Gymnastics was highly interwoven with who I believed myself to be. And so when that fell away, I felt like I had nothing to stand on. I felt like there was nothing left of me, and I didn't know where to start regaining that. And at that time, I was looking around me so much to try and ascertain, well, how can I fit in and belong, that I was trying to see what seemed to be important to other people. And unfortunately, what I landed on was appearance as a very high thing that seemed to be important to others. And so I started thinking that who I was how I looked. Who I was how I was being interpreted by others. Who I was is what other people thought of me. And again, this required me to outsource my sense of self to everybody else, which cannot make sense. It isn't complete. It's not sustainable. It's not something I can carry with me in my day to day, because it belongs in the minds of others, in my assumptions of what is in the minds of others. Coming home to myself was very much this journey of spending time getting to know myself. And to do that, I had to be with myself and start meeting myself like a friend or an acquaintance even at that point, because I did feel like I was living with a stranger a lot of the time and I hated them. So in anything in life, the problem is not the problem. It tends to be the relationship that we have to this thing that we're perceiving as a problem. For me, I saw myself as this big problem in my life that I couldn't figure out how to deal with. But my problem wasn't myself. And it's the same I'll say about my mind. It wasn't my mind or who I was. It was that I had this relationship, this very distorted and negative relationship with those things that created a negative experience for me as I was trying to live within them. So learning to change my relationship with myself is how I came home to myself and started to get to know myself. But like any relationship, that begins at the very basic level of getting to know someone. What do you like? What are you interested in? What makes you you? What lights you up? What are some of the qualities that you're noticing in this person? What are some of their strengths? What are the things that they are passionate about? What do they love talking about? What do they love doing? How do they take care of themselves? What do they need? All of these were fundamental questions that I had not been asking myself for a very long time. I didn't really seem to care for the answer previously. So when I started to find these breadcrumbs of me-ness that I was starting to unveil and discover within myself, I started getting closer and closer to myself. If you want to start to actually be yourself, my first recommendation or suggestion, if that's a journey you want to go on, is to get to know yourself. So spend time getting curious about yourself. I would be writing down what matters most to me to see what my values were. I would be writing down the qualities that I see in myself. I'd be writing down what I admire in other people, because what is in others is reflected within us. And that tends to be why we resonate with people that we look up to, because we also hold those qualities ourselves. I was writing these things down and starting to garner kind of data about who I was. I asked people in my life as well, recommended by my therapist, to say what they saw in me, to write down lists of the qualities that they saw in me so that I could start to see them, not as a way of seeing myself through the eyes of others in a negative sense, but to start to unearth and I suppose connect to what there was within me that I did bring to the table, because I felt like I had no value. I did see myself as lacking any real worth. So to be able to see that reflection helped me to be like, well, yeah, I can see that in me too. And sometimes there can be fear when we're looking at these things to say, like, I am kind, I am generous, I am whatever it is, that we're in some ways trying to big ourselves up, or like as if that's a negative thing, or trying to be very self-focused, but it's just true. Like, it's just true about you. You're just recognizing what is true about the person that you are, in the same way that you can recognize that someone else is funny or hardworking or determined. You can see those things in yourself without being vain or without being arrogant or cocky. So just minding any fears around that might come up. Some of the other things I would have done was journal and just check in with myself and spend that time getting to know what was going on in my own head, what was going on in my experience, what I was finding challenging, what I might need to hear. And I'd ask myself that question: what do I need today? What matters most to me today? And again, it is just like any relationship that you want to develop. You're having this open conversation with the person that you're intending to connect deeper with, and starting to get to know them, and asking questions and spending time and paying attention and noticing. And the more curiosity you can bring with this, with compassion instead of criticism, the more fruitful these conversations are going to be, the more beneficial they're going to be as you continue to reveal these different parts of you that maybe you haven't even allowed yourself to pay attention to before. And the second part of getting to know yourself is allowing what you know to be enough and to be okay. When we get to know ourselves, we might notice that we think about things in a way that's different to others, or we might have a more complex way of processing things, or we might love things that nobody else seems to care about at all. And it's allowing yourself to have these differences. Sometimes you might be afraid to look at certain aspects of ourselves because we have attached a judgment to it, or we do think that there's something wrong with that. But I'd invite you to just allow what you uncover and see within yourself to be absolutely okay and enough, because you have that for a reason. Like, it's within you for a reason. And it's important to honor those things that make you you. It's important to let yourself see all the different aspects that have made you you. We are all born with this core innate being, this unique essence that we have. And it's like there's this inner circle that is this core, and then the outer circle that clouds that or makes that harder to see is this conditioning that we get. And then outside of that again is this character that we portray based on that conditioning to see if we are doing okay and to see if we can fit in and belong. And if we shed those things away, we take off the mask, we take off the character, we allow ourselves to be ourselves, we just even question some of the conditioning. Some of it might be useful, some of it may not be so much. So it's just getting curious about, what have I told myself about how I should be? What do I expect of myself? Where do I feel suppressed, or like I can't actually let my true self be known and seen? Where do I feel like I have to put on a front? And just bringing curiosity to these different areas helps you to shed those layers that have been put on top of you and to start breaking free of them, so that you feel lighter in yourself, you feel freer in yourself. So that would be my suggestion for the first place to start, is to just spend some time getting to know yourself. And this is a practice. As I said in the definition of authenticity, it's a practice of letting go of who you think you should be and allowing yourself to be who you are. So practice being yourself. When you notice that you are kind, or when you notice that you are funny, practice being kind and funny. Let yourself let those traits shine through, as opposed to what you think others are expecting you to say or do. The second thing then is to get to know your values. As part of that getting to know yourself, you'll likely find out what matters most to you. And in getting to know your values, the next step of that is utilizing them to direct yourself. So values can be like an emotional compass that can guide and direct us through our lives. So when we feel a bit lost or off, our values can really help us to figure out how to make a decision, how to make a choice, how to find our way back to ourselves. So learning about what really matters to you is a practice of even noticing where your attention goes, what you enjoy doing most, when you feel very strongly about something. And sometimes even signals like anger can show us what we care most about, because we'll get activated about certain things. We might have a sense around justice or corruption or things like that. And maybe fairness is a strong value of ours, or maybe we really value love and we want to live our lives from a place of love. Or for me, it's freedom. I want to live in alignment with the value of freedom, which also means freeing myself and liberating myself from any mental prisons or ways that I'm restricting myself or keeping myself stuck. So noticing what your values are, what really matters to you, and use them as that guiding light on how you show up each day. Even if it is just that you set that intention to live one of those values for the day. I'm going to live in alignment with my value of authenticity today. So if I notice myself trying to suppress myself or change myself for others, I'm going to remember what's most important to me and I'm going to live true to that. Or if I have that value of kindness, I am going to be kind to others today and myself. And if I notice myself being critical or judgmental or harsh towards myself, I'm going to come back to that value of kindness and embody that for the day. So using these things as a practice, as a habitual way of being, that's how you be yourself. Like, being yourself isn't writing down things about yourself and having this separation from like, oh, this is who I am, I'm this bunch of writing on a paper. No, it's how you show up each day, how you practice living, how you are yourself. That is how you cultivate a lot of trust in this self that you're creating, which is essentially confidence. Another part of this is, of course, dealing with the fears that can come up when it comes to being ourselves. So if we have been living a version of ourselves that we thought we had to be for a long time, it might feel very confronting and vulnerable to practice being ourselves. And it is a vulnerable act, because it can feel safer to be a certain way in front of others, because at least then if they reject that version of us, they're rejecting that version of us. It's not our true selves. If we allow our true selves to be seen, that can be very scary, because then if someone judges or criticizes us, we feel that rejection as pain. Like, we feel that in our body as a severance from the collective, or we're not part of the group. We feel that isolation, which feels awful as a human. It just feels terrible. We all know that feeling on some level, and that's why we do so many things to try and avoid it as best as we can in life, to be what we think everyone wants us to be. So it's challenging what comes up around this. There may be discomfort. It may feel easier to hide yourself away. It may feel easier to fake it and be someone that you think everyone wants you to be. But on a fundamental level, when you do that, you're telling yourself that who you are is wrong. And if you are living with a voice in your head telling you all the time that who you truly are is wrong, you're not going to feel great in your life. No matter how much of a front you put up, no matter how much you can fake it during the day, that is going to be exhausting to keep carrying that. And then if you get as far as the deathbed of it, that quote that I mentioned at the start, if you get there and you reflect on your life and you're like, God, I didn't even give myself a chance to be myself. How are you going to feel then? You had this one shot at life, and you can only live your life true to yourself by letting yourself be yourself. You can only really optimize this one shot at life that you get as this version of you that you are by allowing yourself to really see life from your own perspective, by allowing yourself really step into who you came here to be. So if fear is coming up and saying, oh, don't be like that, people might judge you, get curious about what you're actually trying to protect yourself from. And is it worth it? Is it worth continuing to deny yourself authenticity because fear is saying something? Because fear is typically false evidence appearing real. It'll say these things and it'll try to deter you from doing the scary thing because it might feel safer in this little bubble of pretense, right? But life is waiting for you on the other side of that, and you can do scary things. So it's not about living without fear, but recognizing that when it comes up, that it's providing you with an option. Do you want to stay stuck in this safety zone, in this comfort zone, in this stuck zone, or would you like to progress into your life and move forward authentically and allow yourself to be yourself, even if it requires tapping into a little bit more courage? Fear will come up and say things like, people are going to reject you, people are going to judge you, what will people think of you? My invitation is to get curious about, are you rejecting you? Are you already saying things about yourself that you don't like? Are you already judging yourself? Because the likelihood is that you are, and you're just afraid that other people are going to reflect that back to you, and that's going to feel awful. But if you stop rejecting yourself, if you stop judging yourself, if you stop caring so much about what other people think and start caring about what you think, then these things are going to get a lot easier. It's going to be a lot less scary. That is something that I really noticed on my own path, is that I was kind of afraid of being myself a lot of the time. And now it's the most refreshing thing, because I don't have to pretend. I don't have to keep up with lies of who I am with this person and who I am with this person. There's a quote or a saying of like, if you're a liar, you need to have a great memory. And I can't just remember all these different things. I would much rather just be honest and true and myself, so that I can be consistent, because I don't have the energy anymore to try and keep up with who I think I'm expected to be. I just can't do that to myself anymore. I've done it for long enough. But now it feels like when I do connect with people, they're just getting me. There's nothing else. And if we don't connect or resonate, that's okay. There's another quote that says, like, you can be the world's juiciest peach and there'll be people who just don't like peaches. Everyone has their own preferences. You don't like everyone, so it's not worth beating yourself up to expect that everyone is going to like you. It's just not reciprocal. It doesn't work that way, and that's okay. So when you are trying to be yourself, when you're practicing being yourself, acknowledge there may be fears that will come up along the way. There may be discomfort. It might feel challenging. It might feel risky. It might feel uncomfortable at times to do that and to be true to yourself. But the rewards are immense. If you want to move towards confidence, empowerment, acceptance, belonging, that's on the other side of the fear. And that is on the other side of really practicing being yourself. So it is so worthwhile. And the fear will fade away. The more that you practice it, the more action that you take, those fears get less and less. That voice gets quieter and quieter until the only voice that you're listening to is your own, which is ultimately the goal. And nicely brings me on to my next point, which is to use your voice. I spent so long suppressing my voice, not allowing myself to speak. I was quiet and shy, but I was also terrified of saying the wrong thing. I was afraid of what other people would think of what I had to say. And like that, I thought that my perspective was quite different. So if I said something, it would be weird. So I didn't say things for a long time, and I didn't contribute what I had to say. And that just didn't feel right for me. Another one of my values is expression. I love to express, whether that's through writing or speaking. And when I wasn't allowing myself to do that, I was living incongruently to who I'm here to be. Using your voice is also expressing your own preferences, which is linked in with having boundaries, which is linked in with self-respect. So using your voice allows you to distinguish and differentiate yourself from other people, which is essential on the path to wholeness. You have to be able to see yourself as an individual to see where you really connect with others in this whole sense. So using your voice in terms of what is and isn't okay for you, using your voice in terms of what you like and what you don't like, using your voice in terms of what is a yes for you and what is a no for you, that's really important to solidify that sense of who you are, because you are letting yourself be heard as well as letting yourself be seen. Letting yourself be heard is very important, because as long as you're silencing yourself, you are sending yourself the message that what you have to say doesn't matter. Who you truly are is not okay. Your preferences are unimportant. And all of those things are in some way telling yourself that your authentic self just isn't enough, just isn't okay, isn't welcome here. And if you cannot be welcome within your own self, again, how are you going to expect to feel good in your life? How are you going to expect to feel like you're living a life that is truly yours? How are you going to feel confident in your life as it continues to progress? The last part with this is to really embrace vulnerability. It is to embrace the risk that comes with being seen. And vulnerability is risk. It's innate in the word. The word vulnerability comes from the root word to be wounded, like to be open to wounding, which doesn't make it sound super favorable. I appreciate that. And yet it is at the heart of joy, creation, connection, authenticity. It is a massive strength to allow yourself to be vulnerable, to allow yourself to be truly known. And the world gains so much from that too. It's not just for you, but when you allow yourself to be vulnerable, I wholeheartedly believe that real leaders are vulnerable. Their courage is contagious. And when people go first in this sense, it gives other people permission to do that too. And that means a lot to me because, as I said, authenticity is one of my highest values. And so for me, with anything that's important to me, I want to go first. I want to be the change that I wish to see in the world. I don't want any young people to feel like they have to compromise themselves, hide themselves, shame themselves, change themselves just to feel accepted and that they belong. I want them to know the magic that is who they genuinely are, what they uniquely have to offer. And I see it in schools all the time, and we're speaking to students and they share something that is true and resonant because it's who they are and they're just letting themselves be themselves. It is so beautiful. And I just see that the world needs so much more of that. And so embracing vulnerability may feel scary, and we may be opening ourselves up to the riskiness of all the stuff fear says is going to happen. And yet it's so necessary. It's the essence of being human, I think, is to let ourselves to really be seen. And that is how, as humans, we connect. And we see that all the time with people who are vulnerable, with people who let themselves actually be real with other people. It's magnetic, it's attractive, it's lovely when you are in the presence of someone who is letting you see them. And I know for me, that's what really helped me to connect with people like that. Brene Brown are these people that I find so inspirational because they were being real. They were letting themselves be seen and not perfect and not having it all figured out, but just being a human on the journey. And we need more humans on the journey, admitting that they are humans on the journey, I think, because there's so much pressure to be coming across a certain way. There's so much pressure to be seen a certain way. There's so much pressure through filters and through the fabrications that we create around who we are and this image that we are trying to present to the world, whether it's through social media or even through how we are acting with each other. And I think there's all this pretense and it is sucking the life out of us. It's really very draining, and it's not what we're meant to do. I just feel like it's not right. And so my invitation is to stop all the pretense, stop the mask, let that fall away, let that shed, and let yourself be yourself. Let yourself actually practice being authentic and true to who you are. And as you do that for a while, start noticing the many benefits that come with that. Start noticing how you feel within yourself. Start noticing the difference it makes when you are living a life that is like a living appreciation of your unique self. So thank you so much for listening. I would love to hear your thoughts on this topic. If you find it to be of benefit, if there's anything that you are taking away, and how you are choosing to show up as your true self from this moment on. Thank you, and I will speak to you very soon. Take care.